remember anything that I say this Mother's Day morning, know that your sacrifices have not been in vain, and that I love you intensely for allowing me to stand on your shoulders. In essence, that's why I embrace this opportunity this morning, to be here this morning, just to be able to say publicly that I love you. It has been said that between the years 1619, when the first Africans arrived in, well, the first documented Africans arrived in Jamestown, Virginia as indentured servants, to approximately 1864, that within approximately these 10 generations, that our ancestors had a unifying purpose, a moral imperative that was clear, crystal clear. It was literal freedom. I've come to realize that after I've navigated through my previously nostalgic and sanitized versions of this time in our history, that I now come away knowing that the likes of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth must have been driven by unconditional love, a persistent, unchanging love, a love for those who even believed that life beyond the plantation was not worth pursuing. And yet, after 250 years of blood, sweat, and tears, our ancestors who fought and died to ascertain a literal freedom are rarely remembered for their love. Thankfully, the story, as you know, continues. And between the years 1864 to 1964, over the span of about 100 years and 4 generations, the great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren of these rarely remembered loved ones pursued what is often acknowledged as their unifying purpose, as their moral imperative. That was crystal clear. That imperative was civil rights, public access. And so, approximately 4 generations of your ancestors fought and were beaten, and some even died to secure equal access, to breach the borders that were so clearly drawn by both de jure and de facto segregation and the laws and the practices that relegated us to poverty, perpetual poverty, and marginalization. And so again, I had to come to the realization that after I navigated through my own previously nostalgic and sanitized version of that history and time, I came away knowing now that the likes of Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Martin Luther King Jr., and Alhaji Malik Shabazz, that they must have been driven by unconditional love, a persistent, unchanging love for those even who believe that life beyond segregation and the borders of Jim Crow was not worth pursuing. And yet, after 100 years of blood, sweat, and tears, our ancestors who fought and died to ascertain the civil rights that we now enjoy are rarely remembered for their love. So, if these suppositions remain true, if we were in fact unified under those ideals, if you were black in America during these 2 eras, it was very clear. Your moral initiatives, your moral imperatives were driven by either freedom and or equality. But here's the question. Here's the Mother's Day question. From 1964 until now, what has been our unifying purpose? What indeed has been our moral imperative during the last 2 generations? I know many would probably say, well, economic freedom, because economic freedom provides choices, unlimited choices. And because unlike Bergen County that has a median household income of about $84,000 and a poverty rate of 6%, for African Americans, our median household income is about $40,000. And the census includes that 27% of us live in poverty, abject poverty, every single day. For 2011, the unemployment rate for blacks was twice that of non-Hispanic whites. This finding was consistent for both men and women. So for many, maybe even some of you sitting here this morning, many believe the next unifying purpose, the next moral initiative must be economic freedom. the closing of the wealth gap. And I'm for that. But I need you to absolutely hear me clearly this morning, as I know many of you will go away from here and you'll go hear sermons that will be nostalgic, about old school tales, about days of old mama's sweet spirit and the importance of having a praying mother. I'm for that too. But I would like to remind you, in the midst of our nostalgia, that we are faced with what I believe must be our overarching reality. And it is concerning our children, the future of those who have come from us, and even more accurately, our children who are beginning to slip away from us. Whatever you believe our next unifying purpose, or even if you believe such a thing has or can exist, my plea, my petition, my prayer is that we learn to display our love a little more for one another. I apologize if you were expecting some manifesto to be more rigorously defined this morning, but here's the truth of it. We still need each other. We need to stop negating the importance of our networks in our neighborhoods and in our schools and in our businesses and in our churches, in our social and civic organizations, our fraternities and sororities, our historically black colleges and universities. We need them and they need us. Amen. Etch this in your heart this morning. The person sitting next to you right now, that person counts. She counts, he counts. It's time for us to recalibrate our thinking, because no one is coming to our rescue but us. I need you, and you need me more than ever. Listen, on this Mother's Day, if you've been blessed with the opportunity to still presently have your mother in your physical midst, hear me out. Reach for her, kiss her, forgive her, ask for forgiveness of her, share your time, share your money, share your love. But don't stop there. If you've been blessed with an opportunity to still have your father in your physical midst, reach for him, kiss him, forgive him, ask for forgiveness of him, share your time with him, share your money with him, share your love with him. But don't stop there. That spouse of yours, reach for them, kiss, forgive, ask for forgiveness, share your time, share your money. Getting a little trouble when I talk about spouses. Share your money. Some people are a little shaky with that. Share your love. But don't stop there. No, we can't stop there. For the sake of our future, for the sake of our children's future, you have the opportunity to bless children in your midst. Now let me be more specific here. I'm not only talking about the children that you may have given birth to. I'm talking about the children in your extended family, children on your block, children in your house, children in your neighborhood, children in your project, children in your gay community, children on your estate, wherever you live, where you see children who have been neglected, children with their behinds sticking out the back of your pants. Reach for them, kiss them, forgive them, ask for forgiveness of them, share your time, share your money, share your love. Whatever you believe qualifies for the third moral imperative, the unifying purpose that this generation must pursue. It must be undergirded with love. I'm not just talking about the funny kind of love that we often see represented in our media. I'm not just talking about phileo, which in the Greek is Greek for brotherly love, from which we get the words philanthropy in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. I'm not just talking about storge love, which in the Greek means familial love, like the way you love your brother or your sister. I'm clearly not talking about eros or a sexual intimacy, from which we get the words erotic the love that most people gravitate towards when they're speaking about love. I'm talking about the love of God. Agape love. The love that covers all loves and all manifestations of love. It is a word that you may hear a lot, but I'm talking about the love that rejects the myths and misinformation that persist in our community. It has been said that there are more black men in prison than in college. Don't you know that that's a lie? Did you know that? A close look at the figures from 2009 shows that there were 600,000 more black male college and university students than black male prisoners. Yeah, that's not that. Now, this does not take my focus off the fact that the rate of graduations amongst our black males is still too low, or that their representation in correctional facilities are still too high. It doesn't take me from stop drilling down on the fact as an educator that our children are more likely to be suspended or expelled, or more likely to drop out, or be placed in special education, or be missing from AP classes or honors classes, or more likely to be underrepresented among school personnel, except for custodians and security guards and disciplinarians. But we have a responsibility to root out any propaganda that falsely depicts this family, our community. My focus this morning is on love. A love that revitalizes our health. It's said that black males are the only segment of the U.S. population with a declining life expectancy. Let that sink in. I heard a sociologist refer to what he called a sick joke last year. He said that African American men, this is a sick joke, that we are the best thing that ever happened to Social Security, because we labor and we labor, work and we work, and we toil and we toil, and then we die. And we die before we're able to benefit from what we've helped to amass. So whatever you're doing, please know that you can do it a little better if you're healthier and if you're stronger and mentally sharp. We need you to be healthy. We need our strong soldiers. We need our men in our community to be here for us. They never said that those same black and Latino males are more likely to be unemployed or discriminated against in the marketplace, to suffer from colon cancer or heart disease, HIV/AIDS, to be murdered or to become the victim of violence, to be denied the right to vote, to be underrepresented in professional careers and represented in military and sports and entertainment. But our love requires us to recalibrate our perspective, the way in which we see each other. And I'm going to slow this down for the sake of those of us who are still in school, the younger ones in this room. I want them to hear me to say, I want you to recalibrate the way that you see yourselves. The beauty of your lips, the contour of your facial features, the hue of your skin, the texture of your hair, the frame that God gave you. Be clear, because here's the trick. For every dollar that you spend to deflate and lighten and modify what God gave you, others are spending money trying to inject and darken and bolster what God gave you. We gotta start revamping our perspective, our perception, because these influence our attitude and our approach. And we all know that this is what truly determines whether or not we fail or we succeed. LOVE. It's an action word. Our love must drive us into a space that embraces our responsibility to refocus our efforts on these beautiful children that so desperately need our mentoring and experience. But Mr. Thomas, they're so vulgar and so hard-headed, so materialistic, so selfish, and so sensual, and so unfocused. As I heard a church mama say it recently, they're so worldly. Well, who do you think they got that from? Who have they been watching? And before you blame the rappers, I'm going to whisper the answer. It's us. It's us. So, let's love them out of this condition by loving unconditionally. Look past their faults so that we so readily identify and focus on their needs. Loving each other intensely. That love begins, as the Holy Bible says, to cover a multitude of sins. The wounds that our transgressions make so readily transparent and the bruises incurred by our iniquities require love for healing. Yeah, our young people, they transgress publicly, but let's not forget what they do through their inexperience openly. We adults have learned to do secretly and more subtly. We're a little bit more savvy about our shortcomings and where we miss the mark. And this is where my pastor would say, would you please look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, he's talking about somebody you know. He's talking about somebody you know. And this leads me to make the following public service announcement. Whether your vocation, your mechanic, your calling in life takes you into politics or family life or education, religion, finance, arts and entertainment, mass media, wherever it takes you, listen to me. Here's my public service announcement. You still need love. Look at your neighbor one more time and say, neighbor. Now he's talking about you. I can see all of your smile. If there was ever a time we needed love, it's right now. I read a book back in 1993 entitled Black Man, Obsolete, Single, Dangerous. The author was Haki Marabusa. And in this book, there was a retired police officer who was being interviewed. And he said the following. He said, I'm starting to wonder if the black community is a reflection of prison culture. Or if prison culture is a reflection of the black community. Only a concerted love, only an agape love, the love of all love, God's love, can impact that world in which we live in. I read on the website something that's worth quoting. Love is a subject of vital importance, not only because of our fuzzy ideas about what love really is, but because love is a matter of highest priority. But now abide faith, hope, and love. These three. But the greatest of these is love. Moms, we love on you today. Thank you, Jesus, for such an amazing wife, Erin Thomas. Right. My wife of 20 years. For an amazing mom, Shiloh Thomas, who helped to raise me. And I'll end on this note, as I say every morning to 400 students at the Genesis Middle School. Have a great day, grace and peace. Let's change the world.